The news hit like a thunderclap. Tyson Foods was shutting down 5 major processing plants. No press conference, just whispers that became a roar of disbelief across 5 American towns. The familiar hum of machinery and shift change whistles vanished overnight. For thousands, it was the end of an era, a way of life gone in a single morning. Outside the plant gates, workers stood in stunned silence, clutching termination letters. Generations had worked these lines, believing in steady work and a secure future. Now, that promise was gone. Main Street businesses, from diners to hardware stores, faced immediate threats as the economic engine stalled. Local leaders scrambled, blindsided by the suddenness. No time to prepare, no safety net. The crisis rippled through every corner of these towns. As the sun set, families gathered around dinner tables, the food on their plates a bitter reminder of what was lost. The question wasn't what's for dinner tomorrow, but whether there would be a tomorrow here at all. The closure wasn't just a headline, it was a personal tragedy, a story of broken promises and futures thrown into chaos. The heart of these communities had gone silent. To grasp the crisis, you have to understand what Tyson meant to these towns. Tyson started as a Depression-era family business and grew into a global food titan. Its logo was everywhere, a symbol of abundance and stability. In rural America, Tyson was more than an employer. It was the backbone of the local economy. The company's reach extended to farmers, truckers, feed mills, and small businesses. Payrolls funded schools, churches, and community events. Tyson sponsored sports teams, picnics, and scholarships, weaving itself into the social fabric. Generations found stability and identity in the plant. The closure ripped out the town's economic foundation and social glue. What was once a source of pride became a symbol of betrayal. The empty plants stood as monuments to a partnership that felt unbreakable, until it wasn't. Tyson's legacy became a story of both building and abandoning communities. The future was suddenly uncertain. The effects were immediate and brutal. Thousands laid off in a single day. These weren't just jobs lost, they were livelihoods, identities, and futures. Unemployment lines grew with people who'd never needed help before. Local diners and shops emptied out, sales plummeted, and for sale signs appeared everywhere. The real estate market froze, tax bases shrank, and public services faced cuts. The emotional toll was immense: anxiety, desperation, and a surge in mental health crises. Families strained under the pressure, and neighbors moved away in search of work. The social fabric frayed as hope faded. The closures exposed a harsh truth. These towns were dangerously dependent on a single company. Corporate loyalty proved an illusion. Distant boardrooms held the fate of entire communities. A deep distrust of big corporations took root. The question now, how do you rebuild when your town's heartbeat is gone? The scars would last for years. As Tyson's plants went dark, Canada's meat industry moved fast. Canadian companies like Maple Leaf Foods and Alamel ramped up production, filling the gap in the U.S. supply chain. Trucks rerouted north. Canadian plants added shifts, and exports soared. For American consumers, the change was almost invisible. Meat stayed on shelves, but the label now read, "Product of Canada." The transition stabilized the market and prevented shortages, but it also exposed a new vulnerability. America was now dependent on a foreign source for a staple food. Canadian workers saw overtime and record profits, while American workers lined up for unemployment. The crisis redrew the North American meat industry map. The U.S. loss became Canada's gain, and a new era of cross-border dependence began. The economic balance had shifted overnight. The silence in American plants was matched by a boom north of the border. The shutdown was a nightmare for American farmers tied to Tyson contracts. With their only buyer gone, barns full of livestock became a financial crisis overnight. Feeding costs soared, prices for animals plummeted, and some faced the unthinkable: euthanizing healthy animals. Many farmers faced foreclosure, their dreams of passing down the family farm shattered. At the grocery store, consumers saw prices climb as supply chains scrambled and competition shrank. The Product of Canada label became a symbol of a system in upheaval. The crisis exposed the fragility of a food system dominated by a few giants. Both farmers and consumers paid the price for efficiency over resilience. The search began for a fairer, more stable model, one that wouldn't collapse so easily. The hidden costs of consolidation were now painfully clear. America's food system was due for a reckoning. The Tyson closures ignited a political storm in Washington and beyond. Former President Trump blamed current policies, promising to bring jobs back. Republicans called for deregulation and investigations into Tyson's decisions. Democrats decried corporate greed and called for antitrust action and worker protections. Protests erupted in affected towns. Signs read, "Tyson betrayed us," and "People over profits." The closures became a symbol of broader economic anxiety and the fragility of American jobs. Politicians from both parties were forced to respond to the growing unrest. The debate was no longer just about meat. It was about the future of American work. The story dominated headlines, fueling a national conversation. The crisis had become political lightning. The sudden reliance on Canadian meat raised urgent questions about food security. America, once the world's breadbasket, now faced a bottleneck in processing, not production. Experts warned that depending on foreign suppliers for staples was a strategic risk. What if trade disputes or disasters cut off imports? The conversation shifted from efficiency to resilience. Calls grew for decentralizing the food system, smaller, regional plants instead of massive, centralized ones. The crisis forced a reckoning with the true cost of cheap food and hollowed out rural communities. Food security now meant more than just abundance. It meant control over the supply chain. The debate spread beyond agriculture, becoming a mainstream issue of national security. America had to decide what kind of food system it wanted for the future. The lesson was clear: resilience matters. The collapse of U.S. plants sent shockwaves through global meat markets. Countries relying on American exports scrambled for alternatives, driving up prices and competition. Japan, South Korea, and others turned to Australia and Brazil, straining those supply chains. The crisis exposed the world's interconnected food system and its vulnerabilities. Trade tensions rose as the U.S. considered tariffs and quotas, worrying partners like Canada. The event complicated trade deals and highlighted the risks of overconcentration in food processing. Other nations began reassessing their own supply chains, seeking more balance between efficiency and resilience. The American experience became a cautionary tale worldwide. The failure of a few plants in the U.S. reshaped global food policy discussions. The world was watching and learning. The lesson: no country is immune to the ripple effects of a fragile food system. The dominoes had fallen far beyond America's borders. Out of crisis, a movement emerged to rebuild America's food system from the ground up. The old model had failed. It was time for something new. Decentralization became the rallying cry. Smaller, local processing plants to boost resilience. Governments offered loans and grants to help entrepreneurs revive rural infrastructure. Farmers markets and community-supported agriculture programs surged, reconnecting consumers with local producers. Technology played a role. Mobile processing units and online platforms linked farmers directly to buyers. The movement was about more than food. It was about restoring community and trust. By buying local, consumers supported families in their own regions, not distant corporations. The crisis showed the need for resilience, community, and self-reliance over blind efficiency. The path forward meant empowering local communities and investing in new technologies. The empty Tyson plants stood as reminders of a fragile past. But new local food enterprises offered hope for a stronger, more secure future. America's table could be rebuilt, one farm, one community at a time.